be ready. And I know with the fine soldiers in the 2nd Battalion that we took to heart what we got in that memorandum for creating a mitigation plan, and we did in fact create one. We sent it up to JFHQ, to our SARC at the state level. Who can tell me who that is?
Jennifer Diaz.
Fantastic, CW3 Jennifer Diaz. And I can say, again, from personal experience at the 2nd Battalion, we have her photograph with vital information about the role of the SARC and how to contact her, posted very visibly within our work areas, as it should be. What I'm going to do next is show you just a portion of the 2nd Battalion's SHARP mitigation plan. I'd just like you to read paragraph 1. Okay, so I'm curious. Impressions, thoughts. What jumps out at you about this paragraph 1?
I like that you included the off-post vulnerabilities outside the box for me, because I put on the uniform and I come inside Camp Wrigley and there's my lane.
Excellent point. I do much the same. I don't go off post very often. In fact, some of the 2nd Battalion instructors helped to highlight in my mind why I included that particular statement, and it was for a completely different reason. We have some fantastically innovative instructors, and they made a relationship with a golf course off post, and were able to incorporate within their course how to leverage that resource for the students. Brilliant. That's the sort of training environment that I love to be a part of. But for the positive, there is, of course, the other side. And as soon as you leave post's confines, you're in a different environment. Moreover, we cannot just assume that because you are on Camp Ripley, you are safe. We know that definitively to be not the case. Again, it's about who you're with, what you're doing, what controls you have in place, what plan you are operating under, who do you know. All of these things come into play. So, I appreciate that comment very much. One more? Any other impressions, thoughts?
I like your in-state serve, be unafraid as an infantryman, unafraid to immediately intervene in the presence of sexual assault or harassment.
I was hoping someone would mention that. I will share a very brief personal vignette. When I was in high school, before I joined the Army, before I had ever even thought of being a part of the Army as a soldier, I was witness in my high school, of all places, to clearly what you could say was egregious sexual harassment, if not sexual assault. I was a witness. It was with an older male. I was a sophomore, he was a senior, and a fellow classmate, a sophomore who was a young lady. And it disgusted me. It disgusted me, and it was one of those cases where she was attempting, oh, get off me, you're being ridiculous. It was just wrong. Knowing what I know now, if I went back to my 16-year-old self, unafraid to immediately intervene. Essential. Non-negotiable, has to happen. Has to be stopped, has to be addressed. If you hear someone say, no, stop, in a bar, like we were just talking about in this previous brief, it should be like a dog whistle. It's not to say that you're going to go and get into some kind of fight, pell-mell, be stupid, no. But you're going to immediately take note. What was that? What is going on? I need to figure this out. That's our job. That's what leaders do. That's not for the E4s and below. That's for us. We have to do that. So moving on from the mitigation plan, I won't bore you with any more of the details. I want to talk about something else though, nesting, right? So commander's intent, pretty standard terminology for the Army, right? We use op orders as a mechanism to communicate. Commander's intent is always something I've appreciated very much. So I'm going to show you something else. Anyone recognize who this is. I suspect you all do. Very highly regarded, fantastic non-commissioned officer, fantastic leader. Well, what I'd like to direct your attention to is part of his philosophy, which I appreciate that he puts right on the webpage. In fact, I highlighted the portion there. For those in the back who may see it as small font, I trust all in my charge. Once violated, trust can be extremely difficult to recover. So segueing for a moment, what is it as an Army value would you say that is completely incompatible with sexual harassment or sexual assault? The number one value that is violated in every single case. Respect. That's exactly right. Respect. If you don't respect other people, then you don't belong in this uniform as a leader. That's just a fact. You have to treat people with respect. But respect doesn't mean that in every case you say the nice thing and you give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And that's what this speaks to right here. I trust everybody up front. But once that trust is violated, look out. And my point to you as it applies to SHARP is that we know our soldiers. We know. We know ourselves. And as leaders, it is our duty, it is our job, when we see indicators of disrespect, that we address it. And truly, the role of the leader is early on, the first time. You know, I might have misconstrued that. I might be misunderstanding, but I thought I heard you just say, or it seemed to me that the way that that was received, anything regarding even brushing closely to sexual harassment, you need to address it. There's a professional way to do it, but you got to do it. And if you don't, then you allow it to continue. And so that's what happens, really. It's not about leadership, it's not about the Army, it's about human nature. Human nature is to be nice. Human nature is to say, oh, I'm sure so-and-so didn't mean anything that way. I'm sure he or she didn't take it that way. As leaders, though, the buck stops. We don't make assumptions like that. We figure it out. We ask the question, the pointed question. And we make sure that our soldiers know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And that is respecting them. Anyone who is a good soldier, who believes in the Army values, will be thankful. Thank you for having this conversation. Now we understand each other better. One other thing I'd like to show, though, is again, as leaders, how do we demonstrate this stuff every day? How do we do it? How do we show it? This is my command philosophy, and I actually generated this back in 2006 when I was on active duty with my first company level command. And I will just highlight one point for all of you here. If I can. I can't highlight, but let's just look at this 3D respect. You owe every soldier initial respect and trust. Ongoing respect and trust is dependent upon each soldier's behavior. Lost trust is extremely hard to regain. Isn't that a daisy? That's the command sergeant major for the Minnesota Army National Guard and me with the very same philosophy on that point. One might even argue, wow, did one review the other's philosophy before writing that? No, not at all. Because we're nested. That's the point. Good leadership reflects consistently the right message. And the right message is sexual assault, unacceptable, a crime in every case, punishable under the law, punishable under the MCMJ. Sexual assault or harassment is the thing that leads to sexual assault. Sexual harassment, equally unacceptable. Equally a violation of our Army values. Very simply put, not in our house. Are there any questions? Well, that concludes my briefing. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir.